Coach, Dean, when Brad was a player at Wake Forest, did you envision him being a coach one day and maybe even working alongside him like you are now?
Well, I never thought about working alongside him, but easy call that he was going to be a coach. I mean, just incredibly cerebral guy, important to him, cared about his teammates, made everybody around him better, constantly, studying the game, and then he was an off the field guy too. So when somebody's really doing everything right, you're like, hey, if that guy's going to get into coaching, he'd be a great one because super GPA and doing all the right things, going to class and everything off the field as well. So real easy call that this guy would be a coach.
Did you give Coach Stoops a recommendation during the process of hiring him, or
I really didn't. I know Coach was kind of investigating a few guys, and I don't know exactly where he was in the process. I know he had talked with a few guys, and I know he had Coach House meet with some guys to interview them kind of off campus in conjunction with recruiting. That's all I really knew about it. But at one point, Coach had a staff meeting, was just asking about certain guys, probably that he had interest in. Hey, does anybody know this guy? Does anybody know this guy? And just all of a sudden, out of the blue, he goes, "Anybody know Brad White?" Brad White. I kind of know Brad White, Coach. I've coached him, and then he GA'd, and then I helped him get over at Murray, obviously with the OVC connection, and been to Indianapolis and stayed at his house and studied some of the fire zone stuff that the Colts were doing when I was at EKU, and been to the convention and babysat his kids, and so I kind of knew Brad White. So it was really neat, when Coach asked that, and then he was actually on his way that day that Coach asked that question. So it was not me going to Coach Stoops and saying, "Hey, I got a good guy for you." I really had no idea what Brad was doing. I wasn't aware of the, I'm kind of a moron. I got ball and then go to the house. I really wasn't aware, what was going on with the Colts and that he may not have a job.
Dean, I know you spent a lot of time in the secondary, but what's it been like kind of this offseason to move back there and kind of switch position groups?
It's really coming home. I enjoyed it. I mean, last year was my 30th year. I coached the running backs one year for Rich Rodriguez when I was at Glenville State College, and I coached the tight ends at UNC Charlotte, and then I coached the outside backers here. So the other 27 years I've been in the secondary. So it was really nice to get back in that room and where everything makes a lot more sense to me than some of the other stuff that was that I had to really work at to get to learn it.
How does it work with you, Steve, and Mark, kind of all back there with that defensive background and all the voices in that room now?
Well, there's one voice in that room, that's Coach Stoops. So that's the first thing that's got to be done. And I purposely hired a guy when I was at Eastern to coach the secondary that never coached the secondary, because I wanted to coach exactly how I wanted to coach, because that's the one thing I knew. So that's a thing that we'll have to work through. And I've told the kids when I've been separated with them a time or two, most of the time it's been me and Coach Klink all in there together. So and Coach Klink knows how Coach Stoops wants it coached. So I've been able to catch a lot of that as we go. But the time or two where I've been in the meeting room with just the safeties, which we've done it just twice here in the spring. Most of the time we've been together. It's the first thing I've told them. Say, guys, I'm gonna coach you how I've been coaching it, and if I say a term wrong or a technique that Coach Stoops don't like, we'll get it corrected and we'll make sure we get right in line and do it that way. So it's a little bit of a balancing act, but it's really good because even though I've been in the coaching secondary 27 years, to hear Coach Klink teach maybe the same thing just a little bit differently or use different words, and then to hear Coach Stoops, every time he's coaching those guys, I'm running down there to hear what he's telling them, So it's it's not hard because it's all the same stuff that I've been doing. It's just a matter of making sure I'm getting it done the way Coach Stoops wants it and using the right terms.
Dean, have you ever coached a 24-year-old sophomore like Max does?
I don't know. It's a good question. I don't think so. That might be a record for me.
Does the age help at all? The maturity, being a little older, than making that adjustment?
I hope what helps him. You never know, but I hope what helps him is the fact that he played Australian rules football, so he's in stadiums. I'm guessing, I don't know for sure. 80,000, 100,000 maybe. people. So, and that's their football, so he's been on TV, and when it kind of got out that we were recruiting Max, the Australian kids that I've coached and known, they know who he is. It's not like knowing Peyton Manning or knowing Tom Brady. He wasn't that big in that in that Australian rules football, but he was a professional player, and they knew who he was. So I just think being in that environment, I think has to help him when we get on the road to go play Florida or play someplace with an adverse crowd.
Dean, is it a little scary as the special teams coach to know you're going in and you'll have new specialists,
Absolutely.
all across
Yeah,
the board?
Absolutely. That is, it's to special teams as the quarterback is to the offense. So you're talking about how are we going to be as a kickoff? With Austin, I really had to be concerned about covering maybe, depending on how much we scored, but maybe we got to cover 1 or 2 kicks because the rest of them are going to be non-returnable. And the same thing with Matt. We had so many non-returnable. He had such good hang time, or it was a pooch situation and it was a non-returnable, punt. So it's huge is having a new punter and a new kicker. And are those guys going to be able to be as successful as Austin, as Matt were for us, last year? That's a big question mark, and no doubt it is.
Any thoughts on the kind of rules idea they've kind of tossed around, thinking about on kickoffs?
Yeah, Louis just told me about that the other day. I'm still trying to figure out the ones we got right now. So I'll wait and see if that comes to fruition, and then we'll worry about, do we need to change anything? Is there anything we need to do schematically? Because of that. I assume you're talking about the fair catch line. Yeah, I'm gonna wait and see on all that.
Alrighty, folks.